Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of GeekVerse podcast. I am the political headache, joined by.
The fallback guy, Kirklin.
In the bowels of pleasure den, Travis Snell.
Not easy to say that one. That's a mouthful.
No, but I had the second Otto said it. I'm like, oh, I'm taking that name.
Yes, so gauging by our nicknames, we are reviewing episode 4 of House of the Dragon. This will be our spoilers review, but we'll be kicking off with non-spoilers first. Before we get into that, couple of plugs. You can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse on our Facebook. And also find us on our Patreon with a whole plethora of other content. Kirklin, what's going on this week? Anything popular?
I mean, anything popular?
Anything popular.
I mean, we just covered D23. That was an exciting weekend. We streamed that with our Ultimate Alliance friends. We had Chris on there. We had Brent. We had Fanboy Clay. It was a plethora of new trailers. It wasn't, I don't know, the 100. Oh my gosh, I was gonna say 100 out of 100. Could have just easily said 10 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10 expo, but we had lots of fun times, laughs, and go check that out. I'm sure that's on the feeds by now. And I mean, we're doing She-Hulk reviews. We got Andor coming up, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, just plethora of content. I think you guys are going to be reviewing something here sometime soon, maybe something of the barbarian variety.
Yeah, we literally have a cast a day this week, other than Sunday of coming up. But we got actually no, I think we had a cast a day. So yeah, every day there's something for you at Geekverse.
Yeah, the best way to get all that content is on our Patreon, where you can get everything ad-free, exclusive, all that good jazz, different tiers. Speaking of tiers, we got to shout out our Patreon producers at the highest tier. We got Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Molly Biggs, Joshua Wright. My gosh, I combined the first and last name. I apologize, Joshua. So big shout out to them, and good people. Manscaped, all that's good stuff too. 20% off.
This is why I miss being on Marvel Alliance. Chris got to do this. I got to sit back. It's nice to be on the other side.
Sip your little tea or water, whatever you got going on. GVPOD, Manscaped, 20% off worldwide shipping. Go check us out.
Hear more about that later. There might be an ad or something.
Ooh. I will be joining Dylan this week as well on SideQuest. Right. We've got a big amount of coverage for their Ubisoft Forward for Assassin's Creed stuff, so definitely tune into that. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, I think without further ado, we could get into this. So, Charles, I'll start with you. Now, you weren't on the previous 3 reviews, so just give us your overalls for that, and then get in your non-spoilers for this episode.
Yeah, buckle up. I'm going to review each episode scene by scene right now. So this is going to be a long one, boys. No, as I said, I'm in a newscast. So the first episode, I was camping. I was a little tired. And that was actually my last day off from my time off. So I'm not going to do it. Then after that I was camping again. And then I was birthday. So it's I got to jump on some point. Man, what an episode to jump on. I can't wait to talk about that. If you're going to think I specifically waited for this episode for some things.
You definitely did.
That's not the case, but I'm the bowels of pleasure den. But people can hear and go back and newscast so many times. I said I was not interested in the show. Game of Thrones kind of killed that hype for me. And I'm like a lot of other people where it definitely brought me back. That first episode felt like a good mixture of the new and old Game of Thrones, of the grandiose and the big scale battles, or just bigger sets and CGI, like the dragons look better, but then there's also just lots of character dynamics. And I know Taylor's always saying, well, it's not about the destination, it's the story or the journey, right? But I think the problem is lots of prequels, they have this thing where they're still obsessed with the destination. They're still, look at this blaster, look at this sword, look at this guy. There's all I think the thing is, there is that first episode when he started to talk to her about the Song of Fire and Ice. I was like, oh God, we're gonna get fucking White Walker origins and this and that, but it doesn't look like the show's that. And I think the best thing about the show so far is all the character dynamics. And the thing is, we literally know how all this story ends, what it's leading up to. We know what's going to happen with Matt Smith, and we know what's going to happen with Molly Alcock and all this stuff. But the good thing is, it's just they writing superb, acting superb, and all these little things. Okay, how are we going to get there? How are people going to react to this? I think my only negatives, other people, where the time jump, even the last one we did, I don't know if it was needed, because I think we could have got a whole season out of that. And I'm actually really, really not looking forward to the time jump to when the actresses grow up to be, I don't know what the time's gonna be, 5 or 10 years older. I don't know what's been confirmed.
That's next episode, man.
I think we got one more. I think we got one more.
We got one more.
I watched the preview, and there's a lot of young Rhaenyra. So
because it's 10, right? 10 total.
It's 10.
So I guess
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So after next week would be the halfway mark. So there you go.
Yeah, so
I figured it was going to be half of the young actors and then half of the older actors.
So I think next week is the last one, depending on the preview. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying the show. I think the time jump could make it change a little bit because I'm attached to those two actresses. I like the characters, and again, even at the end of this episode, I feel like, man, there's tons to do in this time period, and we're just gonna jump so far and ahead. I'm not looking forward to that, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's back to, every Sunday Game of Thrones. I know it's Game of Thrones House of Dragon, but still, like, it has that feeling again of, okay, it's appointment viewing, and it's great. And I've been pretty happy, and I'd say this is the best episode of the series so far. And I said that last week as well too, so that's 2 weeks.
It was heating up, that's for sure.
That's not why there's just so many great betrayals.
Some
and
AB
dynamics.
repeats were being used in many households tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
See, I will say that in a non-spoiler way, because we're already alluding, there's some sex in this episode, but I will say two things. One, I feel like the sex is not as heavy as Game of Thrones. I mean, like, there's sex, but I feel like it's just not
This was the closest to Game of Thrones I feel like it's been, because I feel I don't even think it's really a spoiler to mention that there's sex in this episode, because like we had a little bit of it I think in episode 1, maybe 2, and it was very, very mild compared to what Game of Thrones had. Game of Thrones was just floppy wieners everywhere, floppy titties.
There's been a lack of wieners this season as well, especially in this scene. There's one scene where some guy's trousers get pulled down, but they completely like shadowed it. And it was like, it's strange. Like the first Game of Thrones, there was dongs everywhere, and I even feel like with the sex scenes, like even if it was just a one-on-one 2-character sex scene, it was very intense and very just like graphic and nudity. There's one in this episode where it's like very, like, everything's hidden. Like, they're using walls, they're using hair, it's like Austin Powers, and I'm fine with that, but it's just, I wonder why they've made the shift, or they just feel like nowadays they don't want to like use it so much. But then we have scenes in brothels where there's, I think tonight I maybe saw someone's like asshole being eaten, but like very, very smallly in the background. It's lots of artsy stuff, so it's not a negative. It's just like you can see a little bit of a shift with the show. So but enjoyed it. Best episode of the series so far.
Best episode of the series.
Yeah, just for this had lots of good dynamics, people turning on each other.
Yeah, I'll go next. I also think that this is the best episode in the season so far. I think there was not a lot of complaints for me, honestly. There was a couple moments when it just kind of shook me, but it didn't have me in like a plus or minus direction. It was just like, oh man, that was surprising. And then here we go. And I think definitely I would just repeat what Travis said. Like the writing and just like the acting in these scenes are just, they're so phenomenal. And I feel like what they're delivering us is just very digestible for that reason. Like it's easy to consume, and it's we're in week 4 now, and like I absolutely cannot wait for next week. So it's a good feeling. Unfortunately, Shay had to go for a night shift tonight, so I had to say goodbye to her like 20 minutes in. And as soon as she left, there was definitely some steamy stuff that started happening. There was funny timing there.
That's why you told her to leave. That's not the real story. Get out of here, go! I'm watching stuff for the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I really, really like this episode. I definitely have, I don't know, I'm like adding on to my thoughts last week. I was talking about like the time skip stuff. Travis, you kind of mentioned that as well. And I feel like it's kind of hard to track because they don't cleanly say like how much time jumps between each episode. So you kind of have to like fill in the gaps on your own. But I honestly feel like in this episode, it bothered me the least amount. I'll get into that further when we get to spoilers, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting a little bit more used to it, but it is still a little weird to me that they just don't have like a specific like 4 years later or something, because clearly it would just be going from last week's episode to this week. I don't know if they think that'd be confusing people, just throwing that up every once in a while. I don't know. It's a decision, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'll know how I feel about it by the end of the series, hopefully, or season, because we got more seasons coming.
Yeah.
No, with this episode, can I say it's like my favorite one yet? No, but that's not a negative, because all these episodes, I've loved each and every single one so very much. And for me, it's just this consistent, cohesive like train going along, and there's no bumps in the road at all. Or on the train tracks. Like, it's just been fantastic, and I love everything about this. And this episode continues to just deliver on the developments, the characters, and just this crazy dynamics that's unfolding with classic Game of Thrones content that's just coming in, that's just full of this nostalgic craziness that we've been immersed in before, and I love every second of it. So I'm super eager to see what this is gonna go, and I'm kind of like you, Travis, where when they make that time jump and we get these new actresses and other actors portraying these specific characters, it's gonna be like a little bit of like a, I don't know, gonna be an adaptation, I guess, to kind of like
it's gonna suck if we're
out.
less interested in them than these actresses.
Yeah,
because then
yeah,
we're not
exactly.
stuck.
I'm
with,
optimistic. I'm optimistic.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
going to be a clean transition. Have either of you watched The Crown? Because that prepared me for those type of situations when they keep replacing like actors. It's like, oh, this is a new person now.
But I guess, no, I guess you're not wrong. But I guess that's like, but you usually get a full season with that actor actress,
Yeah.
right? And then they
Yeah.
jump, and
No,
that's where it's
absolutely.
just like I felt like when I heard there was gonna be a time jump, like, oh, they're gonna have to skip over the boring stuff. But it's like none of the stuff feels boring to me. So it's like I don't necessarily want to get away from it. You know, like what marriages, even when fucking the king got remarried, it's like I wanted to see that wedding. I wanted to see everything go down and see like it must have
Those
not
were
been a-
deleted scenes too. I saw the images
Oh,
of her
really?
like in her wedding crown and dress and stuff like that. So it is unfortunate, and that's something
Editions.
I feel like in
Release
retroactively,
the wedding cut. Yeah.
retroactively, it's just unfortunate that hey, the first couple episodes were so great, and we announced the season 2 already, and I feel like that's when you do the time jump. Do this whole first season with these actors and actresses that we're just falling like in love with and their performances, and then do that time jump in between seasons. Makes a lot more sense for everyone than doing like 2 years here, 6 months here, and trying to keep the audience following that.
Have you guys ever seen The Godfather?
I still haven't seen The Godfather.
Buckle up when we do that retrospective. That's very much what The Godfather does. Like every half an hour, it's jumping, and you got no idea. You just kind of have to guess. Like it's this season. Al Pacino looks a little older here and stuff. So
because that's what like makes me wonder. Like, did they just were like, let's see how this goes before we do a season 2, and then
there's
like,
no way. There's
yeah,
no way.
I know. Like it's Game of Thrones. You got dragons in there with the big budget. Like they had to have known that this would be like at least people would watch it to like enough people to warrant a second season. So that's what's weird to me because if they knew that, like they should have, like why not just draw it out like Taylor said, like have a season with just these folks and yeah, because I would have wanted to see a wedding, and it's weird that they even like it was in the budget because they filmed it. Taylor just mentioned.
Yeah. Well, any other non-spoiler thoughts before we dive into the bowels?
No, I think I'll start in the spoilers. I think there's one thing in here that moved like very quick for me, and I think that's because we do the time jump stuff. But other than that, I got a few cons, but nothing major.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. We'll jump to our first ad break here too, and then we'll be back with spoilers. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. So lead us into it, Travis.
Oh, I just want to say, and I guess this is what we're supposed to infer with the time jump. But so we get Rainier, and she's talking about a bunch of shit happens in this episode, right? But I'm jumping to the very end where she's talking with her father, and it's her finally starting to like pitch to him, like, "Hey, Otto's not who you think he is. He's being selfish. Like he wants his grandson to be the heir. You know, all these sort of things, right?" And I guess for me, it's just. What they're trying to allude with what the king's saying is, because after my wife passed, I was just kind of in a daze and just kind of figuring it all out. But he's not even specifically said that. It just feels like, so how much time has passed? It's like 2 years, right? Between when the first few episodes and then now. So it just feels like this is the first time, and it could be. So it's the first time in 2 years they've talked about Otto potentially having his like ulterior motives. And I just feel like the king flipped very fast. I would have liked a couple episodes of a build up to he gets that idea and kind of shoots it down, and he shot it down. But then when he shoots it down, the very next scene, he's not even giving Otto a chance to explain. He's just getting him. He's firing him, and I get it. We're supposed to infer that the king looks at the past 2 years and finally goes, "Oh, I never saw it coming." But then it's just like, so Rainier not once even try to be like, "Hey, isn't this a little suspicious? All this stuff like Otto, you know, like it is his grandson, and he's pushing us in a certain direction." So that's what I think the time jumps kind of like don't work for the show. Is there stuff that I feel like we have to fill in ourselves, and it makes that turn. I even wish it happened next week, but it just made that turn for me feel really quick of completely trusting Otto, who's technically not lying. He's not lying about what happened, but just turning on Otto. He's no longer the hand. He's out. And it just was like, have you guys not never talked about this? Not once? And I guess not. Or if they did, he didn't want to hear it, but that's the problem with the time jump. We didn't get to see any of that.
I think it just reflects off the king. He's just not making good choices since episode 1. And this just goes hand in hand with just how again, he's not corrupt. He's not like, I don't even feel like he's confident. I just feel like he's a weak man that is very easily influenced, but not manipulated.
Reactionary.
Yeah, reactionary, and it's not
He is
even
manipulated a little, though. Isn't that what she's inferring Otto did to him? That he's been manipulated this whole time?
I think it's more so her being manipulated than him. I think that's what kind of probably upsets him. In this sense, I just feel like people have been moving stones around him, and he's just kind of been this stagnant object that's just been interacting with people putting their pieces around the chessboard. And again, reactionary to it, right? Like things are happening and he reacts to it. And he just, this episode particularly, it's just funny because he went from like point A to point B to point C, where he loved his brother and appreciating like Otto and or listening to Otto, and then like turning on, like just changing over. Like it was just, he's just not a good king. Yeah.
You fuck my daughter.
He's just not doing good.
Had to bring that up. Didn't think of it till now. Just popped in my head. Fuck.
No, I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah, his allegiances go completely all over in this episode from one camp to the other. So
and like, unfortunately, because of the time skips, this is the way we feel the character. Maybe that's not even the way the character should be portrayed. Maybe if they actually filled in the gaps of like not just jumping years, we could see like the ways that they could really like play with the king and like get the better hand of them. It just seems like he's been aloof for like 2 years, just smashing Otto's daughter and just forgetting about it. Keeps losing bits of his skin with every cum shot, probably.
I don't want that guy smashing me. My God, no wonder they have separate beds. Which Emily did tell me. I didn't know it was like very common in that era. I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
why the fuck?
Watch The Crown, man. They'll get educated.
Well, I just wasn't sure if I knew old people did. That's what one of my grandparents did. They had separate beds. I was like, this is fucking weird.
Bunk beds.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's. And that's what he even said, like, oh, I was in, like I said, I don't think he said days, but he did just kind of blame his wife dying and just trying to figure it all out and stuff like that. But again, it's odd pacing because it feels like it's a conversation that they're having in real time, but it's not in real time because it's 2 years later or so. Right. So it's just, and again, it's just not, it's the same night. He gets rid of him the same night. Doesn't even sleep on the decision. I'm assuming because he talks to her in the next scene. It's, hey, Otto, you got to go see the king. And it's still nighttime. So did he not even take a night to sleep on? Should I get rid of the hand?
He makes a lot of impulse decisions.
Yeah, he's very reactionary. That's the thing. And it's just same thing. It's just, he might want his grandson on the throne, but at the same time, he's not lying about the situation between his brother and his daughter. And it's like, at least you know that because you can kind of put a hold on it. Because let's say Otto's gone, right? And you have a different hand that maybe sees that and it's like, I'm not going to tell the king. And then that blows up and everyone finds out, or it gets worse, or she gets pregnant. Because look, if Otto didn't know she was going around, she wouldn't have got that like drink potion to take care of any consequences. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Said, yeah.
It is planned. But yeah, so it's like at the end of the day, it's, if he would sit down and go, you know what, he might have a ulterior motive, but at the same time, it's like, it's still your son, and he's he's not wrong. He wasn't wrong about any of the stuff he said that went down, you know? So I don't know.
Who do you think he picks as a replacement? Ooh. I joke and say Damon, but I mean, fuck, he could because he's so impulsively miscalculated.
Well, at some point, because he cast Damon off and he's gone forever, right? But at some point, him and Rhaenyra are supposed to get married, so it's just like they got to link back up somehow. So I actually thought that, Taylor, I actually thought he might go, you know what, maybe the marriage isn't a bad idea. Like I thought that was what was gonna go down, because I imagine if she's marrying the Valerian person, something has to interrupt that wedding, right? Because they don't end up together. She ends up marrying Damon, so it's like, what is gonna make that? Like, what's going to turn the corner, you know? And we can't jump over
pregnancy.
The plan B didn't work.
She doesn't. She's not taking that. She gets pregnant with Sir Kristen's child, and then they
comes
think,
out with
oh my god,
like,
that
beautiful hair, long like brown hair, not.
Well,
like,
it'd probably be blonde, but then they say like, oh, okay, no one's gonna fess up to Sir Christian being the one, because then he'd probably be executed or beheaded or something like that. So they're gonna say, maybe she'd pitch, I don't know, like Damon, and Damon knows he didn't do anything, but Damon's still lying and claiming he did do something. So maybe he would just use that as like, hey, let's get married or something like that. Then I have an heir. I don't know.
She's for sure taking the medicine.
You think so?
Really?
I think with the time jump, yeah, they would do the pregnancy thing with that actress. I think because I think I would also not like us just jumping. So again, if there's no time jump, I'd say, oh yeah, I think you're right. But no, I think that guard.
I think
But-
it's a great way to get the child older though and brought.
I was
into
gonna
the show.
say I could also see like the next time we see, I guess Rhaenyra is just with a child that's like 5 years old or something, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that's a good thing with the marketing. We haven't seen any of that, so that's an easy
Yeah.
thing to hide. But I'm gonna say that guard stood there and like waited till she downed it. Like that would be my prediction. I like, especially she was just sneaking out. I don't think the king's gonna trust her to maybe not take it. So
Just like hold her down, force it down her throat, like my parents had to do when I had to take my cough medicine.
Yeah.
back
Take
in
your
the day.
potion B.
Yeah.
and plus like
Take your potion.
well, because like, are we assuming that if you're Targaryen and you have a baby, couldn't have white hair without it being like another Targaryen bloodline?
It seems like that's
person?
Jon
just-
Snow.
That's the way.
No, that's what I'm saying, Taylor. I mean, like,
yeah.
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, could like she has the baby with Sir Christian or whatever? Would that child have white hair?
I don't think so because Jon Snow's the exception, right? He had
So then
dark
that's
hair.
the point. Their kids have white hair. Like if you look at the Mad King, that's their kid, right? It's the Mad King, and he has white hair when Jaime takes him out. So that's why I don't think it's Sir Christian's kid.
That's fair.
I know I'm jumping ahead, but like it is a prequel, you know. So that's the thing. Like we know, unless there's some baby that does not make it,
You're
or there's
cheating.
another child.
You're
I'm not
going
cheating.
to the end of the book. This guy.
That's like being like
I didn't
Anakin,
remember
like,
that.
oh, how you know, oh, he can't become Vader. No, he's gonna make it out of this. Say okay, you know.
It's
Same
like I
as
hope
Padme,
Leia and
sure.
Luke make it out. They make it together.
Yeah.
I will say with the time skip, one area that actually worked with the time skip for me is having Rhaenyra and Alicent kind of have like their repair of their relationship because we're jumping like 2 years. I believe that now it's like okay, they can just talk again because you know time heals most wounds, and I feel like if they just have 2 years, they can kind of just have that moment to talk as friends again. And I like their rapport that they had like in episode 1 before like the big bomb dropped on, or I guess that was the end of episode 2, right? But yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
I'm glad to see those two kind of have that rapport again, like just be friends, and that's something that was a positive outcome for me with the time skips. Is like I believed when it's like, can we like talk as friends again? They didn't say that specifically, but you know, in the Kingswood, they had that little conversation.
In the Kingswood, yeah. No, I was happy about that because that was one of my most disappointing things about us not sticking in that era. Because like they did the marriage. She's her mother-in-law. You know, not even her mother. She's her stepmother.
Yeah, we got no
like,
drama out of that.
Yeah, and that's why it's like when it's like, oh yeah, we're jumping. It's like I want to see all this and stuff. So I was happy that happened. It's now of course they repair a relationship, but then like a day later she's already lying to her. So I'm sure that will come back to kind of maybe put some more strain on it because I thought she might confide in her. But you know, you say time heals all wounds. You know, I'm not sure. Taylor, would
I
that
said
heal
most
your wound?
wounds.
Yeah, okay,
I said
most
time
wounds,
heals
yeah.
most wounds.
Yeah. That's a tough wound to heal, you know.
It's a pretty tough one. Yeah. That's like gosh, that's like my mother being the queen and then Travis marries in. The queen like chooses Travis to be the new husband.
You-
Doesn't even
I'd be a
tell
great,
me.
You're my
I'd be a
toy.
great father to Taylor. Yeah.
He's,
But but sir, the hour's late. That's what threw me off. I'm like, yeah, of course she's want to go in there. You know, it's just, it's not. You don't want to be touching that man's body. But even though you did not see his face, so I think they used a body double because there's 30 years that separate that actor and actress. So I don't
hope
think
so.
that he was actually in that scene. Because at first I looked up Matt Smith and Molly Alcock and
Alcock.
Millie. Oh, it was Millie. Thank you, because I said Molly earlier, and that's 18 years, which is still like. Oof, but then you get the other one in your 30s, like, oh man, this is, and I know it's the time of the
Yeah.
show and everything, but yeah. And the only thing that helps me with those actresses is like I really like the actress they picked for the one. What's her name again? That's the queen
Rhaenyra?
now.
Alicent Hightower.
Or Alicent.
Yeah, I really like her. I think her name's Olivia Cook or something. I saw her in Bates Motel, so she's a really good actress. So
no, that's
hope-
the older one, right?
yeah,
Or
that's
is
the
that what you're
older
talking
one.
about? Okay,
Yeah, that's the
sorry.
older one. Yeah. So I hope that this friendship I hope they just talk again because I like their dynamic and I think there's lots of fun. And like at the end of the day, it's like, you know, it was kind of a awkward, hey, you know, you're fucking my dad sort of situation. But if she's also fucking her uncle, I feel like her friend might be like, yeah, we're in some weird shit, right? Like, there's almost, like, even though it's not like exactly the same, it's kind of like, well, maybe if she's the only one she could confide in for a little bit about the Damon situation, right? Like maybe that'll be happening on the side, and maybe she'll talk to her about it. And that's kind of like, you are doing something kind of bad and gross, but I'm fucking your dad, so like I'll let you have this one. Like I'll be your confidant and stuff like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
I just want to touch upon one quick thing here at the very beginning of the episode when she's obviously looking for suitors and all that. Man, I don't know why, but I love just this background scene of this like little kid just being shit-talked, and he just like guts this guy, and he doesn't.
I thought he was
like
dead at first.
I thought he was dead.
Oh shit!
Oh, me and Emily were the opposite. We were like, "Oh, that kid fucked him up, didn't he?" And then we cut to
it's just yanks it out of the guy's gut. Just
how embarrassing for the other guy too.
I mean,
he had
he's
it coming.
dead. He's not living long.
But just his family, his namesake. What happened to your son? Oh, we
called him a dumb cunt.
Yeah. Who? A noble knight? No, like a 12-year-old prince.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, you shit talking. You got what was coming to him.
100%, right? So no, that was a good scene. I like we start off with the really old guy that she has no interest in, and then it's the exact opposite, right? Of like this young kid who's just like, I'll protect you, and well, there's a dragon, you dumb cunt, and all this stuff. Like it was a good dynamic. I think I'm glad we're done with this storyline now. Because I know I talked to a few other people that this was their least favorite thing because we've seen that in so many shows, right? If you got to marry. So I like that. Seems like the king has picked someone because she kind of screwed up, which I know we're going to talk about. She screwed up, but I like that. I think this was the right amount of I'm filled up with the wedding stuff. If there would have been another week of her trying to find another suitor, I think we're kind of past that. So I like the route we're going. I like that it was used for some good comedic beats that felt natural as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely did not realize the beginning was that like suitor like pitching their pitch to her, because that old man just talking. I was like, what the fuck are you rambling on about?
Yeah.
Like, he goes and takes a sip, takes a breather, and then goes back at it. Like, crikey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I talked about the suiting.
I mean, I also agree. I'm glad we're done with that. Because it was happy at the beginning, and then it's like Damon's coming back. I'm like, oh fuck, I know where we're going with this show. I feel like I was trying to like lie to myself. I'm like, no, Rhaenyra and Damon, they're not going to do the uncle the uncle niece situation. But of course, here we are. And then as we were going like deep in the pleasure house, I feel like I was just too innocent. I was like, no,
there's a den.
Oh, sorry, the den of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, maybe this isn't gonna end the way it is, and then they just were like holding each other. I'm like, fuck, god damn it, here we are.
But nothing happened though. He hit a wall. Which why do
I think he definitely inserted.
There's some moans.
No, he didn't. They just kissed. No, from
her
the
pants...
angle. No, that was a full-on Tommy Wiseau angle. It was not adding up.
Doesn't matter. In movies, you can fuck a woman's belly
pants were
button.
down. She turned around, and he was just like getting angry and like stopped, and she kept trying to kiss, and he wouldn't. Then he like punches the wall and leaves. I don't think that happened at all. I think he just kissed her a lot.
I'm gonna say insertion happened. That's what I'm gonna say.
I think they would have made
even
it
if
more
it's just
clear
tip,
though.
But I thought it was clear when he walked away and she was
Might
like
have been some
bare
heavy
ass naked
foreplay.
against the wall. That's what I thought. So. And why do you think he pulled away? Because we're jumping this. Why do you think he didn't do it? Like, is it just that because he just doesn't want to sleep with his brother's daughter? Is it something else?
Get hard.
He went
that way he wouldn't have inserted. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know. We'll have to get that next week and everything like that. But
get the behind the scenes.
Because I don't think it's. It was Damon Hard, but like I don't think it's that. I think it's something. I think it's something else because he went and go sleep with that handmaid later on. So I feel like it was just that of. It's different that they have this attraction and it's kind of they're flirting with each other, but for it to actually happen, I think there was a lot more consequences, and I think we've seen that with Damon, where he's a asshole. He barks a lot, but the same thing is like it feels like he will regret or think about things like there's that first scene or one of the scenes in the premiere when he was with that prostitute, but he was like not crying, but he was just very emotional. She was just holding him. It's like from the whole episode before that, he was just an asshole who looked like he gave no shits and super tough, right? So I feel like that was it, where even though he's telling the king like, yeah, I can marry her, this and that, I feel like it's just he maybe didn't know if he could take that dive. And I'm sorry, Kirkland, I didn't mean to spoil it if you didn't know they got married and stuff like that. I didn't know that.
No, that's okay. No,
Okay.
come on. I'm not that attached to this. I was going to say another example of Damon's behavior there is like when the Dragonstone thing, right? When he steals the egg and it's like, oh, I'm not giving this away, like blah, 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 talking a big talk. And then Rainier's there. It's like, kill me or stop being a pussy and just give me this fucking egg back. And then what does he do? He just like throws the egg back. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go gather my thoughts in my little Dragonstone tower. But yeah, it's an interesting layer to that character though. How he is just this guy wearing this super badass dragon armor. I forget the new title he has. The King of. It was the title of the episode actually. The King of the Narrow Sea.
King of the Narrow Sea. Yeah.
And like he's just like this badass character. But in those moments, he kind of is showing cracks. And I feel like that's what makes him so interesting to follow throughout these episodes and where he's going to be going.
And that's why, like, that honestly was the tipping point for me too in this show was Matt Smith. I was very in the middle, but I was like, I like Matt Smith. I'm hoping to see him in something good because the past few years always see him as not good stuff. So like and that's what I love about this character, that he's the most interesting one, where there's moments where you hate him, there's moments where you're rooting for him. He's at times a very kind character, and that's what's the throw off, right? There's times where he's just genuinely a good person, or at least he's good towards somebody, and you go, well, there's something in there. But then there's time where he beats like a innocent guard within an inch of his life, and you're like, I can't get on board with this. Like, he's just giving you a letter.
Lord.
Yeah, like,
save me.
I get it that you're mad the brother's sending some stuff to help you, but it's just like, don't spaz out on this guy. So that's why I love, like, you never know what you're gonna get. Even with the scene, I'm like, the second they started, once they kissed, I'm like, oh, it's on. He's in there, and I still think he got in there. He's in there, but no, it didn't. Like, he got mad and he walked away, and whatever it is, and we don't know what
that sentiment. That sentiment of having that feeling of like he wants to do good at least for someone or something. That's why I was so hopeful when he's just taking her throughout these little festivals. I'm like, oh, this is nice. He's showing her like a different side of the city, you know, and then takes her to the pleasure house. And I'm still like, oh, okay. He's just showing that, like, you know, just give in to your pleasures. Like, just, you know, like you're finding a suitor, just have fun with it. And then they're embracing. And I'm like, fuck, no, we were so close. We were this close to greatness.
And that's why that's why I'd have to watch back, but I feel like she like made the first move. Right?
Oh,
like,
she was in on it.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's something I kind of blinded myself to, that she's always had googly eyes for Damon.
Yeah,
so.
and that's why I feel like it's the situation where I think he wants to do it. He just doesn't know if he wants to cross the line yet. And what puts it in an interesting spot is if next week is the last time we see these actresses, does that mean the next time she sees Damon is not till the time jump? Because he's gone. He's left King's Landing now, right? So is he gonna not? Are they not gonna see each other till it's like
they didn't say he left? He
okay,
said,
I'm
go
assuming,
back to the Vale or don't. I don't care. And he said, I will do that.
I'm assuming he leaves. So you think he might still be hanging?
I think he might
Landing?
linger. Yeah.
Okay. I think he's gonna leave. I think that's what they're gonna do. I think they're gonna make it so they don't see each other for a long time.
He comes back, gets his ass kicked, leaves, comes back, gets his ass kicked, leaves.
Well, does he still have his army, or is his army the Gold Cloaks all just disbanded? Like, because he doesn't have like his keep. I just feel like this lately in the past couple episodes, it's just been him on his own. Well, couple since he was on King of like Dragonstone, but that's not even a thing anymore because he's just flying his Caraxus dragon. That's it.
Well, I guess he has like where he just won, right? Because he's now the King of the Narrow Sea. He could just go back there. That's his realm. Because that must be the Vale area that the king told him to go back to. I'm not so well versed in my.
Well, there is a place
geography.
called the Vale.
Oh, is there? Like separate from that? Or is it close in that area? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have you guys ever been to a pleasure den?
Of course. Yeah. That's where I was this morning. I don't recommend the 6 a.m.
Taylor, you're going, you know?
Well, I realized that's not really what it was. It was something else. It was definitely,
Talking about strippers?
What?
Are you talking about strippers?
Yeah.
No,
very
that's not
different.
a pleasure den. Don't go tell people go around.
Someone eating ass in that
yeah. Well, think about when you eat ass, you gotta make sure you're Manscaped, because that's who this episode is sponsored by. Manscaped. Obviously, unfortunately, they did not have in these times, so they're eating a lot of hairy ass probably and stuff like that. But they're having you hear that, Taylor? That sounds like great to Taylor. But the good thing with Manscaped is you don't got to worry about that now. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Manscaped, the leaders of below the waist grooming. It's back to school time, right, Kirk and Patsy? You're going back to school, and we want to make sure that you pack the essentials so you have the best year yet. And that means that's a whole GV tie-in right there. The Manscaped 4th generation performance package is just that. Be ready for whatever is in your daily schedule this year. It's the perfect package for your package. It includes a brand new lawnmower, the 4.0 lawn. I'm gonna have to get this. Go for the valedictorian. Oh, the valedictorian. The valedictorian. Thank you. There's a bunch of crosses in it. Valedictorian of ball trimming, and join 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com with this code GVPOD and use to get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Kirklin, you gotta be doing that too. Go up to your teacher and say, "Look at my balls."
I've already done it. I've walked around the campus rocking my Manscaped shirt. On the back it says, "Your balls will thank you," and I'm spreading the message around, and I know people are interested. It's I'm early on in my schooling. Maybe people won't approach me right now, but then if they do, I'll tell them all about my glorious adventure. And
I'm
just
the valedictorian.
The valedictorian on campus. Oh no! I mean, just watch this Game of Thrones episode. That's all I was thinking about. I'm like, this just must be so dirty, hairy, and just smelly.
How do you safely shave? Even like those areas. Like I know that you can shave. It's not safe at all.
Two-handed sword, probably. There's probably there's a lot of nicks.
It's smooth. It's like how when the king had that knife in the fire, that's what you had to do. Like,
Oh yeah, and that's, you got to be precise, absolutely. And if they had Manscaped, all their problems would be cured. They solve your trimming problems. Obviously, they solve the smell issue. If you just have the crop preserver, all that stuff, the body deodorant. Oh, they'll be smelling good and fucking good. There'd be a lot more sanitary in there.
Exactly, Taylor. Are you ready to do this next time you go to a real pleasure den?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can take Mass in there too. I'm not saying you got to go alone.
She'll be interested in all the markets and stuff. I'm like, come on, Madison, let's go. Let's go in here.
Let's go in here.
Pack the Manscaped. We need that. We're just gonna shave these people. Actually, we're not doing anything. We're helping them out.
Exactly. Nope. I love Manscaped. Again, I just bought 3 sets of the boxers. Bought some more Under Armour.
You had a huge package the other day.
Oh yeah, I'm all about the feeling down below, and when you trim and when you pack the products in there, and you can just put on these, like the boxers. I'm wearing them right now. I got 4 pairs total, and they just feel so good on the skin. And when you just spritz yourself down there too, it just feels like you're constantly sitting in a breath of fresh air, like a crisp wind is always just coaxing along your crevice, and it's just fantastic.
Very nice. So Manscaped, go do that right now. .com GVPOD, 20% free worldwide shipping. Take another ad break, probably. Get that out of the way, too. Yeah, there you go. Ad break. Well, I was waiting for Taylor to bring us back.
Oh, no. Yeah, we're in it. We're in it. So where do you guys want to go now?
I just want to shout out Superbad Mike's comment of the difference between the new and current ages of the actresses isn't all that big. They could have kept them with a bit of makeup age on. I would have been fine if they just fucking said, hey, they're 5 years older, deal with it. Make them maybe make them dress a little differently.
Same actors, you're saying?
Yeah, and we'll see with these other ones, but especially because it's weird, like Damon's not switching. It's still going to be Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Is the King staying the same? I think so, right? So it's just weird that just like these two and maybe a few other, like it's Sir, I imagine Sir Christian. What's his name? Christian or Christopher?
Christian Cole. No, he's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same.
He's the same?
I know. It's so strange. I'm pretty sure it's just like Rhaenyra and Alicent, if I'm not mistaken.
That's stupid.
And probably the kids.
Dumb. So I'm with Kirklin where, okay, if we're doing the whole everyone's aging up, then fine. That's a choice, but whatever. But the fact that you're right, Tan, the we're gonna wait for the baby to grow up. But it's just so weird that he had this love scene with this younger actress, and later on it's gonna especially again, what if the chemistry's not, even with the older actors, but the chemistry's not the same with him, and I'm sure it will be the case, but just a strange choice that I feel like. No, that's the only con against the shows. I feel so many people are dreading that switch. So yeah, I'm with you, super bad. That I would not have switched it. Just say they're older, I'll roll with it. It's a fantasy show, whatever. Fuck.
It is unfortunate too because I've really grown to like what's her name, Millie Alcock and Emily Carey. I think is Alicent. Like I
Don't
I
even
think
think about putting him on any draft lists. Don't even look at him. Don't even look at him.
don't be looking at my list. No, they're both absolutely fantastic. So I am dreading losing them, but I'm also very excited to see what like Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy do in their roles. So I'm optimistic for that, but. Yeah, just knowing what I have, if it was deal or no deal, if I'm giving up what I have for a question mark, I would take what I already have, honestly. But who knows? Maybe it'll be absolutely stellar. But if it's not, it'll be very noticeable, obviously, with new people in those shoes.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the brothel. That was the big thing, right? We talked about Damon and everything like that. And then I still want to meet his wife. I hope we meet that before the time.
Well, we keep talking about his wife.
Yeah, the whore.
Who? Yeah, the whore from
the
episode 1.
Not so common whore.
Yeah, she was in this episode too. Like, this will protect you.
That's his wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that. I thought that was someone else.
No, that's the lady from episode 2 as well.
Because he had her there. Because that's like why he left. Because he was threatening that he was going to marry her and have a
little baby.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was someone completely else. Then fuck me. I missed some line around. Well, I've met her. I'm excited to tell Emily that we both missed and we met this character. There you go.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you think something's gonna happen to her, like death, or because people don't really get divorced in this era, or do you think that it's just gonna? Do you think something naturally happened to her, or do you think he will do something to get rid of her?
I think he'll do something because I think she's being a little crazy, or maybe that's a bad way to say that. She has her own like plan in mind. That's the vibes I'm getting from her. I feel like she'll want to maybe try and he has 2 wives. He does already.
No, who's the other one though? The second one is Rhaenyra. That's what his pitch was.
That's what I thought his pitch was too. I thought he said, "Oh, I'm not the only first one to have a second wife."
No, but,
yeah,
but like in episode 1 when they're like go back like with your wife or like have a son with your wife, and he's like, "No, I want to take a second wife, just like Aegon." So maybe they never got married. Actually, this not so common.
Because I don't think the prostitute's his actual wife. I think his wife's someone else.
You're probably right. Good one.
Well, yeah, you are right. He did have a first wife. And the king was like, "Why don't you go?"
The original first wife.
Yeah, she's a great lady. Yeah, the original first wife.
Yeah,
who's probably never going to be seen.
Yeah, his first wife is who he calls his bronze bull. Yeah, because I think his first wife is someone he had to marry. I think that's like a power play thing because he never speaks good of her. He doesn't sound like he wants to be back with her. So see,
his ball and chain.
I wasn't wrong. Wrong.
Good one, Travis. Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic. Like, what's going to ensue there? Because clearly he fell out of love with his not so common whore, and she's obviously has a reason to spite him. It's not like he says very nice things towards her.
It looked like the little kid that was tailing Rhaenyra out of the pleasure den. He went off, told Otto Hightower, and then that was the same boy that went to her,
I'm pretty sure,
right, and gave her money when she was like confronting Daemon. Totally. So she even said like, "Oh, I've stopped like selling skin, and now I'm like in a new game or something like that." So I think she's
for Otto.
I think she's not necessarily for Otto, but I think she's kind of playing her cards with like information and knows how to kind of like handle herself now. So she's becoming a contender. It seems like for sure. Maybe something kind of like a what was his name again in Game of Thrones? He was bald. He's the one who was. No, not Littlefinger. The opposite.
Oh yeah, he had no testicles anymore, right?
Yeah,
he's a eunuch.
Yeah, he's a eunuch. So he kind of like rose out from like a horrible kind of circumstance. It became like what do you call them? Like his little birds, like someone who's very well informed. I feel like maybe she's kind of an equivalent to that. Maybe
the
rising
turtle doves. Little turtle doves, guys.
It's almost that time. Turtle doves. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting actually to see because I definitely caught that it was the same little boy that was obviously transferring that information to Otto. But I didn't think that she is like actually a big major player here because, yeah, I totally at that time thought that this was his first wife. So, yeah, no, interesting.
Yeah, I just thought because she was a prostitute, she was like sneaking away with her. That's why I didn't think that. So,
yeah. So they did talk about they're going to get married there. That's what was kind of fooling me.
That's true. Yeah.
She backed out because she didn't want to be like used and be put on the radar of the king and the dragons and stuff because if she has a kid and all that.
Didn't she say that she didn't want to have a kid either? This is all coming back to me now.
She did because she didn't want to have a target put on her. She wanted safety and protection, but now, if she has a Targaryen child, like she'll be
or she doesn't want a kid with him specifically.
Yeah.
She might want a kid, but not with him.
You don't have Manscaped. This guy over here.
Just long white pubes, just to the knees. These Targaryens and stuff like that. So, when we jump in the future,
super bad, Mike. It's also a hint in the book that his first wife prefers women. Ooh, wonder if that'll.
And that makes sense. That this whole marriage sounds like this was arranged one, his first one, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not that into it. But I was gonna say with the king, because have we had confirmed how big the time jump's gonna be?
I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
So is the entire king's body just gonna be riddled in this disease when we jump that forward?
Yeah, we didn't see any of his fingers. I was curious if he was gonna keep losing more fingers as the episodes progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
still just the 2.
He's done, but it's it's at least 2 years he has had this, right? So it's a slow disease.
I thought he would have been dead by now, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that first when they were peeling that shit off of him, and putting the goo in there. Yeah, I thought it was over for him.
Did you guys see last episode the scene they fixed it, but it was like he had the green screen fingers on.
So to the fans on Twitter for pointing.
He had a green screen glove on, and it was in one scene he's just talking. He has like this green hand. And
Game of Thrones is so notorious for that. The Starbucks cup, I remember that one.
Yeah, there's a water bottle too. Yeah. So and what I will say, because I didn't say this, I really like, because I think I've seen him in some stuff when I looked up, but I couldn't have told you that actor's name who plays the king at all. Like I've not seen anything that big. Really like him as an actor. Every time he's on scene, he gives these like big dramatic. Like that scene with Daemon was really good. Of he's just kicking his ass. Like Daemon's not fighting him back, but he's kicking his ass. He's threatening his life. Like, but the power he had in that scene, I think if he does, I'm hoping he's around when we jump to the future. He'll be another one that if we lose him this season, which could be likely to this sick disease, I will miss that actor, because I really like the performances he gives in each scenes with these characters and stuff. And he is someone that's reactionary, but he's still pretty strong when he's very certain on something or when he's mad on something. So I do like this character a lot, even though he's making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
I wanted to shout out that little hidden path, like before the Pleasure Den scene, when Daemon, like, I don't know, leaves a trail, I guess, for Rhaenyra, and like she just finds this little like false wall or whatever to like go. I'm such a sucker for those little hidden rooms things. Indiana Jones is riddled with them, and I the little kid in me just totally gets a kick out of all that stuff. Yeah, oh yeah, all that stuff.
Away.
I love all that stuff. So I really appreciate that. It totally threw me off when she came around the corner. She's just wearing like a toque, and I'm like, this is just so bizarre to me. For American listeners, that's a beanie. I was pretty old when I found out that not everywhere in the world just knows it as a toque. Apparently they're called beanies elsewhere, and that really shocked me, because I think I was trying to buy one like online. I'm like, they don't have toques, and then I clicked on beanies, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Why are they called beanies? Didn't make sense to me. Canada,
yeah. Well, there's even stuff like what the fuck they call an end game when he's like, you want an ice pop or a juice pop, and that's like a popsicle. But I was like, when Tony said that to his daughter, I'm like, what the fuck is he talking? Like, what's an ice pop or a juice pop? And then like
a frozy juice,
a popsicle, but no, that's the way it is.
I didn't even know that until now. It slipped my mind at the time.
Yep. I feel like we've not talked. What about Otto? I was gonna say, because I liked that scene again. I'm a big fan of Blizzard. I'm a big fan of Rhys Ifans and stuff like that. So he's another guy, and I get we gotta do the time jump. So he might even be dead by the time we do the time jump, like that character. I guess that's the other disappointment in the show, that I'll be mad if we lose the King and Otto by the end of the season. That's gonna be disappointing, because I think they've created 2 really good characters here, and I liked that. And like I said, I kind of talked about that earlier. I guess that both, like, he's a character that I think he's right and wrong. He's very much in the gray, where he's doing stuff for selfish gain, but it doesn't mean that it's not the wrong thing to do necessarily, So
right.
I really like Otto, but unfortunately I think he's going to be gone next week as well too. Even if he's not dead, he'll just be gone for a while. So
yeah, I think it'll be weird if we just don't get an answer on like where he ended up. But at the same time, I could also just see it happening that way, just with how fast we've jumped through a lot of stuff. They've shown their cards that they don't really care about following up on a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah. It's the type of character I was just, especially the way he was fucking around like with Rhaenyra and like just getting in her way. I was like, screw this guy. I'm not supposed to root for this guy. And then I was definitely foreseen his downfall, but I was kind of shocked it happened as easily as it did, as you guys were kind of talking about earlier, how our king just like snapped like that, like he didn't really give a chance to, like, because like Otto kind of came to him like yeah, absolutely for his own play, but at the same time like just letting him know like, hey man, your brother's doing some pretty sus shit with your daughter in the pleasure alley.
I love every time he's just like, something bad happened between them. Give me more. Well, they were in the horde and give me more. Like, it's just like, just pick up what he's fucking saying here. Don't make this guy say that your brother's fucking your daughter, you know, like, tell me specific detail. What did Damon do to my daughter? And just,
did he insert?
Yeah. Yeah. How wrecked was he? just you get it. Come on, King. You know what he's saying. So yeah. And then that's I mentioned.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say that's what I mentioned in non-spoilers too. That sex scene between Sir Christian. Oh, is it Christian? Just Christian?
It's like Kristen. I feel like you could say it as Christian though, like
Sir
Christon.
So I don't know if this had happened in other episodes of him guarding her bedroom door, but the second that happened, I'm like, okay, they're fucking. It's over. Like they're fucking. And I liked it,
man.
Yeah, but I liked that too, how playful it was, and I liked the scene she brought him in, and it wasn't a like, oh, she was so upset about Damien. She's like, no, I'm getting laid tonight. I don't care. And she brought this guard in there, but that was a scene I've never seen a Game of Thrones sex scene so between him and her. Everything was hidden. Hair, doorways, armor. That was like, and you know, I don't care about that, but it feels so odd in the Game of Thrones world. You don't expect that because you expect every sex scene to be so graphic, but this one was like, no, we're gonna shadow it and stuff like that. So
I feel like that easily could be like a contract thing, you know, like they probably discuss on like what they want to do there, and yeah, I don't know, maybe just the certain people on screen didn't want to go all the way. I'm sure,
and that's fine. It got and it even went to like over the point. And at the end of the day, like,
it was passionate. They got that across.
It was passionate. And I've always said this. I feel like probably 80-90% of sex scenes in all movie and TV show aren't really needed. All you need to show is people go in a room and then wake up together, and you get the idea. Yeah. Like, there's not really much reason to actually show like the sex scene stuff other than I don't
Predator
got any.
2.
Yeah, like you didn't need that, right? So it's just for glorification to get like, hey, we're gonna get people tuning in because they're gonna see some naked people.
True.
You know? So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I will say it's funny because on a previous episode I was kind of pitching those two together, and like I feel like we're talking about like her and Damon, and I'm like, no, she's gonna end up with this guy, right? And then in this episode, obviously, when Damon and her are embracing, and I'm just swearing at the TV, screw this. I was very happy that it ended when she just came back to the castle, super horny, just grabs Kristen Cole. Yeah. Like, she's playing.
It was over for him the second he stepped in that door. He didn't even know. He didn't even know.
Yeah, he needed a firmer grip on his helmet because she just swiped it, and then it was over for him.
I wouldn't even say that. Like, he's not a rebound. I feel like what happened in the Pleasure Den was her just like there was so much heatedness going on. She was like just succumbed by it, like, okay, but it was just like
speech too.
Den. Yeah,
remember?
Like it was.
He was all about like, oh no, it's about pleasure and like taking what you want. So she was juiced up. Like,
well, that's what clouded her judgment. Yeah. Like, it definitely wasn't like the right decision, but the right decision that I think you could see was the passionate one, like Sir Christian, you know, that was definitely it. So if people think that he was like the rebound because she was just like so like going for it, like, no, I think that was the real choice.
What wasn't the right decision? Which one wasn't the right decision?
Going with Damon. I think the right decision was going with Sir Christian, because Damon was just like the pleasure and the like the heat of the moment, but Christian is definitely the big one, the passion.
Put the incest aside, because that in this show that's fair game. See, I don't. So you don't think I'm with Kirklin, where I think she still always kind of wanted that from Damon, though. So that's why I don't know if that's the wrong.
She did, because she made that first move, but I think the heat of just all these people like fucking around her amplified that times infinity. So
yeah, Morpheus announced he started that pleasure night. Everybody, let's fuck.
Siblings fuck.
Yeah, that's another thing too, where I feel like the way that this episode started with the whole courting thing, and then like we've always seen, I don't know, at least Rhaenyra to the bare minimum have just like a lot of respect for Damon, and like she just seems like, whether confidant. It's all their high Valyrian conversations they have together, or just they're confidant. So like the way that it just transitioned from her trying to find a quarter who comes back, and then it's just like, oh, she found her quarter, like, or like, I don't think I'm using that term right. She found her someone that she wants to marry, because like this could work. It's almost like a spite thing because her dad and Allison are kind of the ones that are forcing her to do the whole courting process, to do one of those what do they call it? Just marriage for power sort of thing. And it's interesting because like even her conversation with the king, she showed that she is willing to like do those plays. Like she understands her role as a princess and like just keeping like the bloodline flowing or whatnot. But definitely she's making some plays for herself and for just spite. And it's interesting, the whole combo and how she's balancing that.
And were they trying to insinuate that this was her first time as well? Because the king used the term, "You deflowered my daughter" and stuff like that, right? So
she's still a maiden.
Yeah. So I guess that's something that happened. The way they played that scene to me didn't play it like it was her first time, and I don't think maybe that's just movie TV world where they're just trying to be like, it was just so kind of just perfect and everything was fine and stuff like that. I felt like she knew what she was doing in there. You know, it did not feel like somebody that's like, oh,
it was a time skip from Damon showing her everything, like the whole instructions.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah. I've hit all my notes. I think. I'm trying to think if there's any characters. So
I think the last thing I would say on it is like in the non-spoilers, I was saying like this could be my favorite episodes. I feel like I don't know if I could give it my favorite episode like ranking by the end because there's just no dragon. Like that's such a big part of the show for me.
You got a dragon in here.
You got one dragon, yeah.
Craxus like hit the ship and like fucking rattled Rhaenyra, just smacks her head.
Okay, I totally forgot about that because at like near the end of the episode, I was just shook. I'm like 17 dragons in this season, and they didn't even have one in this episode. That's kind of interesting.
We've seen 3 of them so far because we saw the not the sea snakes, like his nephews,
Lorian or Lord. I forget his name.
And then we saw Craxus of Damon's, and then we saw Rhaenyra's. Obviously, I can't remember her dragon's name though.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of dragons. Too many for me to keep track of. Sometimes I just think it's the same dragon. I'm like, oh, there's that dragon again. And it's not, you know. And there's going to apparently be more dragons if she tries to marry the Valerian person. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I got nothing. I checked my notes. We hit everything.
I got nothing either.
I got nothing either. So I guess that does it. Yeah. Sorry,
here we are at the end of all things.
I was thinking like it was like shutting out like the score again, but then I thought, oh no, like the score is just always great. It always continues to just blow
it's
my
good.
mind,
Costume design, the sets, fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, there's one thing too. I guess we haven't really seen that other Targaryen, Rhaena. Not Rhaenyra,
I bet we'll get her next week, right? Because she's married to a Valerian, right?
Yeah, she's up to some stuff. So
she's spiteful.
Yeah,
that was an interesting dynamic that like kind of shifted. I was like, oh, she's totally gonna be supporting Rhaenyra because she's like finally, it's the role that she got passed on. It's like, no, fuck you. They're never gonna love you. They didn't love me.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode 4 spoilers review of House of Dragon. We'll be back next week for episode 5, and it'll be fantastic. So we'll see you in the search bar.
Bye-bye.